Hey guys, just got done working out not too long ago. Hopefully you've gotten a chance to get outside. It's a beautiful day. So hopefully you got a chance to get out there and do something fun and exciting. Get some exercise in. It's super important at this time. I hope you guys enjoy the videos. It's not super easy. It takes like 30 to 40 minutes right now to upload like a 5 to 6 minute video. So it's pretty rough. But moving on. Today's lesson is actually about patterns. And really, a pattern is any time that there is a series of numbers or even shapes in which they occur in a pattern or a similar way. So I'll kind of expand on that here real quick. So our first example is pretty simple, but we're trying to identify the pattern. And it goes 2, 4, 6, 8. So from 2 to 4, from 4 to 6, and from 6 to 8. So it leaves you wondering, what is this pattern? How are we going from each of these numbers? And if we look, we'll notice that it's not times 2, because 2 times 2 is 4, but 4 times 2 is not 6. So in this one, this pattern is actually plus 2. So each time you would be adding 2. So our fifth digit, 2, 4, 6, 8, would be 10. Now relating this to shapes, if we look, we've got a triangle, square, circle, triangle, square, circle, and then it's asking what that next digit would be. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure it out. I'm sure you can pretty quickly. So go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so hopefully you were able to figure out that that one would be a triangle. And the reason being, triangle, square, circle, triangle, square, circle. So then you'd be starting a whole nother series of triangle, square, circle. So that would be the pattern that we are identifying. Now, keep in mind with patterns, it's going to get a little bit more difficult. They're not always that easy. They're not always adding by 2 or going in a sequential, easy step. Sometimes there is more than one step. For example, in this next one, it's a little bit more difficult. And I wrote it that way. So number 3, it goes from 5 to 8, from 8 to 6, from 6 to 9, and from 9 to 7. And it's trying to figure out what that next term is. So, challenge yourself right now and pause the video. Take a good, probably about 2 minutes, and try to figure this pattern out, realizing that our numbers are going from small to big, and then from big back down to small. So think about the operations that make numbers get bigger, and then ones that make numbers get smaller. So go ahead and pause that video now. Alright, so hopefully you were able to figure out that from 5 to 8, it's going up by 3. So 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's adding 3. Well, but then it goes from 8 to 6. Well, if I'm thinking about how to get smaller, I've really got 2 options of subtraction and division. In this one, it's mostly going to be subtraction, because division won't even make sense. There's no way to go from 8 to 6 really efficiently. So we're going to be actually subtracting 2. Then, when we go from 6 to 9, we're adding 3. And then from 9 to 7, we're subtracting 2. Then, following that pattern, we would need to add 3. And 7 plus 3 is going to give us 10. Now this pattern would be written plus 3 minus 2 with a comma in between, showing that first step is 2 plus 3 and then minus 2. Alright, let's take a look at number 4. It's very similar to number 5, which I'm going to ask you to do on your own. So pay attention and it'll pay off. Number 4. 7, 14, 28, and then there's a blank. So we're trying to figure out the 4th digit and what this pattern is. So we're going from 7 to 14. Well, maybe it's just adding 7. Because we're going from 7 to 14. If I add 7, I would get 14. Well, but then if I'm going from 14 to 28, that doesn't work. I'd actually get 21 if you know your multiples of 7. So I'm suddenly doing something different. So in this one, I need to think about what other operation can help me get a bigger number, which is multiplication. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 times 2 is 28. Then, if we're trying to figure this out, we got 28 times 2 to get our next step. If you want to test yourself on multiplication, you can go ahead and try to solve that before me. 28 times 2, 16, 4, 5, giving us an answer of 56. Alright, now this is the one that I want you to try on your own real quick. During this video, you can go ahead and just pause it. Super simple. Number 5, going from 2, 4, 8, 16. So try to figure out that blank digit. Go ahead and pause the video and try to figure it out yourself from 2, 4, 8, 16. Alright, pause. Alright, so we're going to take our 16, and hopefully you figure this out, and we're going to multiply by 2. Our pattern is 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 times 2 is 32. Alright, the last thing for this lesson is a challenge. I want you to try to post on Dojo or have your parents post for you and try to find this pattern. Now, this is a challenge problem. This is to push your thinking and expand the way that you've been trying to think about these different patterns. It's going to be more complex than the 5 that we've just did. Now, keep in mind there's other ways to make numbers get bigger besides just multiplication and addition. If you notice, we're going from 4 to 16, and 16 to 64, and 64 to 256. So we're trying to figure out that next digit. And I'm challenging you guys to try to figure out that digit and send me a Dojo post on how you solved it. Now keep in mind, here's the hint. My only hint is we studied earlier in this year another way to make numbers get bigger. And it looked something like that, with that tiny number at the top. Hopefully you remember that's called an exponent. That may help you a little bit figure out what this pattern is. Give it a shot, and I'll see you on Dojo.